So, I've been watching a lot of YouTube videos lately about films and animation, and I've got to say, I'm surprised I don't hear more about Finding Nemo. In my mind, Finding Nemo is such a classic. I feel like people should just be gushing over it. It tells such a heartwarming story, it's really funny, and it has these absolutely fantastic characters.
Just keep swimming, just keep swimming, just keep swimming, swimming, swimming.
Isn't there another way? He's just a boy!
It's such a classic Pixar movie that seems to capture all the best parts about the studio. And at the core, what Finding Nemo seems to have going for it is that it has a very clear message. It's about a father and a son learning to love each other, and how the father overcomes his character flaws of being overprotective of his son, all while learning to deal with very real traumas that he has that impact his relationship with his son. It's really a heartwarming story about family and friendship. And there you have it. That's the movie. That's it, right? Right? Well, what if? What if there's more to Finding Nemo? What if there's class propaganda? Now, I get it. You're tired of communists arguing online, you're not really into politics, or maybe you're even just asking yourself, what the fuck is class? Well, buckle up, folks. That's what we're going to explore through Finding Nemo. If we're very crude with it, we could consider class to be links in the food chain or levels in the social pyramid. Basically, it's how much wealth you have, which also determines the opportunities you have, the power that you have within society, and ultimately your ability to exploit and control the lives of others or the comparative lack thereof. In Finding Nemo, there are 3 distinct levels to this pyramid that we call class. There is the human class at the top, which represents the capitalist class. There is the shark class in the middle, which represents the petty bourgeoisie. And then there is the rest of the ocean. They make up the proletariat, or the working class. The human class, or the capitalists, are the ones who hold the most power in society, and they exploit others for their own gain. The sharks are the petty bourgeoisie. They are dangerous, but they also don't have the same level of power as the humans do. Individually, they do have more power than the members of the third class, but they're also at risk of being exploited or annihilated by the humans. Okay, so apparently the thing in the beginning of the movie, which kills Coral and the kids, is a barracuda and not a shark. But I always grew up thinking it was a shark. We could just call this level aquatic predators and throw in the anglerfish there as well, but our argument doesn't really change. So for simplicity's sake, let's just call it sharks. The third class, which in reality is much bigger than either of the 2 other classes, is the rest of marine life in Finding Nemo. Every other fish, mammal, bird, crustacean, or whatever a starfish is, they're all part of this class, the working class, or the proletariat. They're the ones who are the most exploited within the classes, yet they also have a potential power, which we'll explore in more depth later. Okay, so what? We can divide the characters into 3 different groups. What does this actually have to do with that fish movie? Okay, we're getting to the movie. So, here's the quick and dirty, the TLDR. So, Marlin is a fish who doesn't get along too well with other fish, mostly because he doesn't trust them. But, throughout the course of the film, he learns about the lesson of solidarity, and that is one of the main themes of the film. Let's explore what that means through the 3 classes that I talked about earlier. Starting with the capitalist class.
Humans think they own everything. Probably American.
So, like I just said, Marlin does not get along with others. And it's not just that he's bad at telling jokes. We see how his unsociability plays out until Nemo is taken from Marlin by a human. In terms of the humans, why does the dentist take Nemo away from his family? Why does Darla shake the fish? Is there any rationale behind their actions? We hear what the dentist says,
I found that guy struggling for life out in the reef, and I saved him.
but I don't think we really buy it. In reality, there is no real reason why the dentist needs to keep Nemo and the other fish captive in a tank. I'm sure in his mind, he thinks it's better for business, he's going to get more customers, he's going to make more money, but that's a really selfish reason. And there's no reason why the dentist should give Nemo to Darla, who has already proved that she is murderous to fish. And there's no reason for Darla to shake the fish, she's just doing it for fun. She's a psychopath. They do it for their own pleasure. They do it because they can. And this is one of the things about humans. Humans believe that their dominion over land and sea to just be the natural order of things. Their one motivation is to continue to increase their power over others and to express that power to the detriment and danger of all other living beings. The petty bourgeoisie. So once Marlin loses his son, he sets off to find him and he quickly runs into Dory. And then the both of them immediately run into a group of sharks. Now, one of the first questions that comes to mind when we see these sharks is, are they friend or are they foe? The answer is kind of both, kind of neither. I mean, it seems like they're purposefully characterized to toe the line, with moments like this,
Fish are friends, not food.
and moments like this.
That's good. Intervention! Just a bite!
At any moment that we're supposed to feel comfortable about whether the sharks are good or bad, the tone changes. Like I said earlier, the sharks represent the petty bourgeoisie, by which I simply mean small capitalists, like small business owners or small-scale landlords. We could throw mid-level managers into here as well. The petty bourgeoisie can cause real harm to the proletariat. Whether it be a shitty manager or a bad landlord, they can create trauma. But the sharks really do have the potential to be friends. Ultimately, it's very clear that the humans are much more the antagonists of the film than the sharks are. Right when we doubt the sharks the most, we see that the real violence comes from the terrain that the humans have created. And it's a violence that threatens to kill all life, that of the sharks and the fish. The proletariat. Coming back to Marlin, what is Marlin's journey from beginning to end? In the beginning of the movie, Marlin experiences trauma from the petty bourgeoisie. This naturally leads to Marlin's distrust of his fellow fish, which creates a fundamental character flaw in Marlin. This flaw is also deeply tied to his overprotectiveness of his son Nemo.
You have a large class and he can get lost, from sight if you're not looking. No, I'm not saying you're not.
While we empathize with Marlin, his inability to work with others can't be anything but negative. Marlin is antisocial. Dory is important because she is the one who really challenges and develops Marlin's capacity for solidarity. Throughout the course of the film, Marlin is constantly tested on whether he does or does not show solidarity with Dory. And by the end of the film, Marlin learns how to have solidarity not just with Dory, but with all other fish. When does Marlin begin to learn? There are some key moments. One of them is when Marlin and Dory meet this group of fish. Now, you might be asking yourself, what do you mean? Wasn't this sarcastic group of fish just put into the movie for some light humor? No, they really weren't. Because these fish are a pretty clear allusion to one of the most famous images in the history of organized labor. You see, this is what it means to have solidarity. It means to unite with fish other than yourself, to create something larger than yourself, in order to defeat a common oppressor. It opens up the possibility of genuine liberation, knowing that we are more powerful than they are. This is the entire point of the film, solidarity. There's also a reason why the fish, the literal symbol for solidarity, mock Marlin, which is not something that is very solidarity-like. of them to do. But the reason that they're mocking Marlin is because he doesn't have solidarity yet. Mind you, Marlin just told Dory to get lost, even though she helped him find out the address to find his son. Like, WTF, Marlin? So in an ironic way, we see the entire theme of the movie played out in a scene, as Solidarity makes fun of Marlin for being an asshole. Okay, enough ragging on Marlin. After this scene, Marlin actually starts to take a turn, and he shows solidarity by putting himself at risk for Dory. And once Marlin does this, the entire world begins opening up for him. There's this entire host of sea creatures that, knowingly or not, begin to help Marlin out. And as Marlin begins to experience solidarity more and more, he begins to tackle his fundamental challenge, which is his inability to trust in others. And we see the theme of trust come to a peak in this moment. In this moment, Marlin decides to trust not only Dory, but also the whale, which is a complete stranger, which is big and scary, and which Marlin is afraid is going to eat him. Marlin is rewarded for taking this leap of faith. It turns out to be the best decision he could have made. All of the themes and the lessons come to culmination in this scene.
Swim down! Swim down! Don't give up! Keep swimming!
This is not too different from this. In this moment, we see the humans defeated and overcome, and all because all the fish decided to work together. Marlin and Nemo and Dory and all these meaningless nobodies, because even if they were rude to Marlin, even if they are gray and characterless, Marlin at this point understands that these fish probably have lives. They have their own families that they want to get back to at the end of the day. All of these fish desire to live, and importantly, all of these fish, working together, have the power to free themselves. We're in a moment where things seem pretty bleak. But that doesn't mean we can't create a different future for ourselves. The human beings in Finding Nemo are awful, but they also create the opportunities for the fish to learn the lessons they need in order to free themselves. We all come with different identities. These identities afford us different privileges and oppressions, and at times, it may feel like everybody else in the food web other than yourself is an enemy. But the truth is, we can be united by a common enemy, and more importantly, a common vision for the working class. We can be united by a vision where we're working together, one where we have real solidarity, one where we're working to understand one another, even if in some ways we don't. By struggling together, we can tip the scales. As Malcolm X once said, we're not outnumbered, we're out-organized. We can build a new future for ourselves, one dedicated to our common welfare.
Now go have an adventure.
Goodbye! See you later, dudes!
Bye, Elmo!
Nemo.
Nemo!